bring it back, 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 bring it back.
Hello and welcome to the final instalment of NRL Rewind for the regular season in 2011. A lot to get through today, of course, with the Dally M Awards being presented last night. We'll have a look at that as well as all the action from round 26. This is going to be the turbocharged edition. As I said, a lot to get through this week, so let's get it all started with the weekly wrap. For the first time in weeks, the St George Illawarra Dragons have shown a glimpse of the form that took them to the 2010 Premiership, scoring a comfortable win over Penrith. It was a less than ideal Panthers swan song for captain Pedro Sivanasiva, who will reunite with the Brisbane Broncos in 2012, with the loss soured further by a pectoral injury that could force him to not only miss the upcoming Kangaroo Tour, but the bulk of next pre-season. However, Penrith fans have been saved from despair by the emergence of Blake Austin, who already looks like a player to watch next season. As the Knights of past years looked on, it would be the current crop that would seal their place in the 2011 finals with a largely unconvincing victory over a disappointing South Sydney. With everything to play for, the Rabbitohs failed to handle the pressure and saw the game all but beyond them at half-time, trailing 30 points to 6. Newcastle proved to be nervous leaders in the second half, and it wasn't until Akili Uate scored his record-equalling fourth try that the game was theirs. It's fair to say that they have a lot of work ahead of them just to avoid embarrassment against the Melbourne Storm next week. Wests sealed fourth position and a home final with an at times lazy win over a Sharks side that refused to lie down in their final game at Toyota Park. A 3-try effort from hooker Robbie Farah proved decisive, but there were plenty of questions left unanswered about the Tigers' defensive form, which will surely need to improve significantly against the Dragons. On the positive side of things, this was the 8th win in a row for the Tigers, and they expect to welcome Chris Lawrence back from injury next week. 1972 will remain the most recent year in which Parramatta won the wooden spoon, as they avoided the unwanted prize with possibly their most dominant performance of the season. The Eels have been far from the worst side in the competition this season and showed just that by piling on 32 unanswered points before taking their foot off the gas in the last 12 minutes. Jared Hayne had easily his best outing for the season, scoring 1 try and having a hand in 5 others, while retiring Titan Preston Campbell said goodbye to the NRL without the finish he deserved. The Warriors and Cowboys both knew that the loser of their match would find themselves in a sudden death match against Manly in week 1 of the finals, and it was the locals who seemed more intent on avoiding that scenario, sending UK-bound Lance Hohaia out a winner in his last match at Mount Smart Stadium. New Zealand may have had a bizarre piece of refereeing rob them of a top 4 finish, but they are far from a spent force and will give Brisbane a real run for their money on Saturday night. For the Cowboys, Captain Jonathan Thurston will be primed for a return to form against Manly after a series of quiet performances since returning from injury. Set the near impossible task of needing to win by 90 to leapfrog Newcastle and claim 8th spot, the Bulldogs settled instead for a polished win that sent Andrew Ryan out a deserving victor in his final match. In a contrast of new and old at Belmore, 4 tries from excitement machine Ben Barber ensured he'd finish alongside Nathan Merritt at the top of the try scorers list. While one retiring captain could smile for Alan Tongue, there would be no exclamation point on his NRL career as the perpetually underrated Raider left the field for the final time on the wrong side of the scoreboard. All signs pointed to a demolition as the judiciary-ravaged Sea Eagles travelled to Suncorp to face a Broncos team primed to impress a sold-out home crowd in Darren Lockyer's official farewell. Down on troops and trailing 14-0 at the break, it was Manly who showed tremendous heart in scoring the first 2 tries in the second half on the back of brilliant play by Daly Cherry Evans. The Broncos would regroup and come away with the hard-fought win, but will no doubt be counting the cost after exciting fullback Josh Hoffman suffered a season-ending knee injury and key forward Sam Thaiday was suspended for 2 weeks following a lifting tackle on Brent Kite. Adding to their confidence gained from the gutsy display, Manly will welcome back Brett Stewart, William Hopewadi and Kieran Foran from injury and suspension against the Cowboys. With the minor premiership sewn up following Brisbane's win, the Storm fielded what can generously be called their B-side against the Roosters. Despite Craig Bellamy's best efforts to protect his players from injury, the Storm would come out of the game with multiple casualties. Although Maurice Blair and Jamin Lowe are expected to recover in time to send Newcastle packing, Gareth Widdop is out indefinitely with an ankle strain. Not much can be taken out of the game, which the Roosters won without much effort. It was a happy ending to an unhappy year at Bondi Junction. So the final standings in the 2011 regular season look like this. Week 1 of the finals producing some great matchups. The Tigers will host the Dragons on Friday night, with the Storm aiming to end Newcastle's season on Sunday, while Saturday night's doubleheader will showcase Manly against North Queensland and the Broncos against an injury-free Warriors squad. Looking at the best and worst of round 26, I've given my performance of the week to the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, although they lost the game 18-10 to the Broncos, I think there was a lot more to this match than just the end result. Looking at the facts, you had a 50,000 strong crowd at Suncorp Stadium turning up to see Darren Lockyer play his final regular season home game. The Broncos, to that end, they knew the game had been sold out for weeks in advance. They were primed to send Darren Lockyer out on a high in his official farewell. Manly, knowing that they had second place all but sewn up, had every excuse not to turn up at full intensity, especially considering the suspensions to the Stewart brothers and Kieran Foran, as well as Darcy Lussick, and the injury, of course, to Jason King. They were certainly going into this match very, very under strength, and the anticipation was that Brisbane might actually threaten the 43-point margin required to leapfrog Manly into second position. To Manly's credit, though, going to the break 14-0, they came out and won the second half 10 points to 4. They showed great heart, great belief, great pride in their jersey, and for that reason I've given them the performance of the week, and I think it's very exciting for them to be able to take that much confidence out of a loss heading into the finals. Now, on the other side of things, my worst performance of the week, it was difficult to go past the Gold Coast Titans, and I know that during this season we've really learnt not to have any expectations at all for the Titans. However, again, they had a lot to play for against Parramatta. The loser was always going to collect the wooden spoon, and it was a Titans home game. Preston Campbell, of course, club legend, inaugural Titan, retiring at the end of the season. You would think they'd put in a far greater effort than what they did. Credit to Parramatta, they really put in one of their best performances of the year, and the scoreboard reflects that adequately enough. But given everything that was on the line for the Titans as well, I really feel like they were a massive letdown and worthy recipients of the worst performance of the week. I can't work out why any club CEOs, let alone club CEOs from Sydney, would willingly sign their right away to play at their suburban home grounds in week 1 of the final series. Now, in the last week, there's been a lot of talk around the fans, the clubs, the players not being happy about this arrangement, which was brought in this season, that all finals games in Sydney were to be played at either the Sydney Football Stadium or ANZ Stadium, of course looking at the increased capacity of those grounds and being able to fit more bums on seats for those games. That's fair enough in my view, because the CEOs themselves, the clubs themselves, signed off on this agreement at the start of the year. Why then they're turning around and making these complaints now? And look, Manly are as guilty of this as any other club, and probably more so, to be honest, judging on what I've read in the last few days. As far as Manly's concerned, I mean, we're hosting the Cowboys anyway, so we're going to have a home ground advantage. But I truly feel sorry for fans of the West Tigers who have earned the right to host the Dragons, and yet will effectively be hosting them at a neutral venue, which is ANZ Stadium. I don't really understand why or what the motivation was for the CEOs of these clubs to agree to this, knowing that the backlash was always going to be there from the players and the fans, and that the general feeling of this move was going to be negative. I mean, there's always going to be pockets of people who are going to think this is a great idea, and from a business perspective I can see where they're coming from, but as a fan of the game and as a fan of a team that has finished in the top 4 and who wants to see his club get as much advantage in week 1 of the finals as possible, it's not a good move. Hopefully it's a one-off. Hopefully they'll go back to the way it used to be for the 2012 season. Knowing how the NRL have operated in recent times, I don't know how realistic that is. They tend to like flogging a dead horse. We'll have to wait and see, but as far as the complaints that are coming out at the moment, you've had all year to get used to the idea. Had you expressed these concerns before round 1, we might actually not have to worry about this now anyway. As I mentioned earlier in this video, the 2011 Dally M Awards were presented last night, and those of you who've been watching NRL Rewind for a few weeks now will remember that I did my own prediction special for the Dally M's on the Round 24 edition. So just having a look back at what I said then and how the results fell into place last night. Of the 14 awards that I made predictions for, we got 8 of those correct. So not a bad result. Plenty of room for improvement next year though. The big winners out of last night, without a doubt, the Melbourne Storm, with Billy Slater taking Fullback of the Year and Dally M Player of the Year, and Cameron Smith the Hooker of the Year, Representative Player of the Year, Captain of the Year, and Craig Bellamy Coach of the Year. Some of the surprises out of last night, I don't think many people picked Jamie Lyon to win the Centre of the Year award, but congratulations to him. And Jack de Belin, the big surprise in the Toyota Cup Player of the Year. I really think that could have gone to any number of players within the all-conquering New Zealand Warriors under-20 side, but it was de Belin that got the nod from the judging panel. Really, it's not for me to say whether or not they got it wrong, but it was definitely a surprising result there. That's the joy of these Dally M Awards though, they always throw up a handful of unexpected results. So that'll wrap things up for this round 26 edition of NRL Rewind, and we're off to the finals next week. So I don't know about you, but I can't wait. Thank you as always for watching, and don't forget to like this video, rate it thumbs up, and subscribe to this account. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Looking to get a little bit more active on the Twitter side of things, so make sure you're involved in that. And I can't wait to see you all next week as we dive headlong into the finals. See you then.